Alright, so I'll be showing you guys how the decal tool is working and the functionality of it. It's under the developer folders and then John Johnson. It's the blue one. I don't know if the color propagates in your Unreal instances. But anyway, it's here, decal tool, and this blueprint is the one that you want. So you just drag it in the level, and it's just got a spline on it, right? So you can see this white spline and this purple spline. And you can see the decal already taking effect. So what happens is this white spline is the one that you control. And that's the one, the purple one is the one that basically gets subdivided and rayed down to the surface below it. So you can see that these it's got these extra points, right? And this white one is like more lower resolution since it's easier to work with then. So if you go outside of the the ray distance, just raise down on the z-axis, outside of the ray distance basically that you set here in the variable, this ray distance, it'll default back to like the original spline position of the white one. But you probably won't be using it like that, you'll just be using it like this, raying it down to the surface, right? And you can see the footsteps along the spline basically. And this placement interval parameter controls the resolution of the spline and as well like the size of the instances basically. So you can see that the footsteps are longer now and the spline is higher resolution. And if you decrease that, the footsteps become smaller. So if necessary, you guys should try it out, you know, test out what resolution is like best to work with. Of course, high resolution like mesh will use more performance. But if you guys require, if you enjoy working with like a really tiny placement interval, I can supply you with other textures that tile better at this size. Right, so the next one is snap offset. This one is basically the distance that the mesh that gets generated along the spline is projected above of the surface, basically. So it's not really a decal, it's a decal mesh. So it interacts with the normals below it, basically. But it doesn't project like a normal decal would. It's just a mesh that gets generated along the spline. You can see the outline here of the mesh, basically. And it needs to be above the surface that it's projected on. So if I decrease this to, let's see, -5. Don't know, I haven't tried this, so I don't know if negative values work. You can see that it disappears because it's below the surface. See, there's not really any projection taking place. So the default value of 5 is probably sufficient for this scenario, for the use case that you guys are going to use it for. And the selector here is basically, it controls the presets that I created of different just texture presets. So you've got these zeros as steps, and then you can go up one, and it's like a big groove, basically, as if one of the ships have passed through it, and 2 is like kind of a road, right? If you guys require, we can increase like these are the textures here. We can increase the normal like intensity in the instances. So you can see the normal strength, right? So if you put that in the -5 or something, you can see it becomes much stronger. You need to do that for every like one of these material instances that's in each basically each folder. If you want to increase it, I can do that for you guys as well if it's necessary. I think the default was -1. Right, and then this other parameter, width, is really straightforward. It just controls the width of the stroke, basically, of the spline mesh. Some other, I used the roll and scale as well, or at least the scale of the spline, so that you control different things with it as well. So the Y scale is basically controls like the width as well. It's like an additive on top of the width that you set here. So you can increase per like spline point that you set the width of the mesh. And the Z-axis, the Z scale basically is an additional offset for this offset here, this snap offset. So raying it above the surface, you can see that it goes higher basically if you increase this Z scale, which is usable for if it maybe clips in like one certain area of the spline and you don't want to increase like the entire snap offset. You can just use the Z scale per spline point. And the X scale is just the tangent, right? So that's used by the native Unreal Spline thing. Okay, I think that's basically it for the tool. If you guys have any questions or whatever, just ask me. If you have some more feature requests or other textures or something, we can work something out. I might rework some of these textures as well in the future to help them tile a little better or increase the contrast or something. Right, so let me know what you think.